Quick little edit, just going to throw this in the beginning. Brian Nielson, the the YouTuber formerly known as Brian Nielson, is Brad Nelson. He has a new channel called Bushcraft Ridge. Go subscribe to it. Link in the description. What is up, guys? So he's alive. He exists. This video is a little late in the making. This happened a month ago now, give or take. But yeah, so Brad, I know you'll be watching this. You'll enjoy this. Yes, I said Brad. That's his name. We all know him as Brian Nielson. He's Brad Nelson. I feel okay saying that because he said it on one of his videos and put it out there publicly. So, but yeah, for those not in the know, gosh, this goes back 2014, 2013. I think 2014 for me. He was probably uploading before that. Back in the old YouTube fitness days, Brian Nielson was like the original sub for sub, comment for comment. Never failed, like would fucking comment on every video you put out if you commented on his. And it was nice back then. It was a little more of a tighter knit community. And while there were still people seeking social media fame, that wasn't so much the primary goal for almost everybody like it is now. It had more of a community feel to it. You could post video responses to other people's videos and stuff like that. Wild shit back then. But anyways, he would, comment on everybody's video. It made you feel like you had somebody. And he had, I think at his peak, 5,000-ish subscribers. And, back in 2014... I want to think, like people like Brandon Campbell was around 10,000 subscribers. I think Matty Fusaro was one of the bigger ones back then, around 10,000 subs. I don't remember Candido's sub count. He was big back then too. But, outside of like Scooby, Chris Jones when he got big, who else was back then? Megan, I can't remember the name of his channel, was big back then too, as far as like the fitness stuff goes. I'm probably leaving some out. Omar Esoff, I want to say, was like 10,000. So anyway, that 10,000 number was a kind of a round number back then that a lot of the people, the bigger people now. And then you had like Brad, the artist formerly known as Brian Nielson, was almost like the go-between. Like, the bigger channels would fuck with him, and he would still fuck with the little channels. So he was kind of middle management, if you will, of YouTube fitness, and I mean that as a term of endearment. So yeah, that's kind of what he was. I did a giveaway with him. I gave away a fuck ton of Pop-Tarts, and he threw one of his hoodies in the mix. The Nerd Fight Club shirts and hoodies were all over the place back then. Even, R.I.P. Masthetics. I remember them having them. They were fucking everywhere. Like I said, Brian, he was that perfect, like, in between. So anyway, one day out of nowhere, his post just stopped. His video stopped. He was, if I remember right, he followed 531. I'm going to say he was on the boring but big variant for the most part, and intermittent fasting, and that was one of his big things, was he would show the meal after his workout, and he would always say, and I ate the whole thing. And I know you guys, maybe not so much on YouTube, but on Instagram, like I post a lot of food stuff. The Greek yogurt concoction was all his idea. I've taken that, I've put different wrinkles on it. I've gotten a lot of people thanking me for showing them that, and different variants of it, and I totally got it from him, and I wanted to credit him, and he was, a ghost, basically, at this point. So, Brad, there's a bunch of people enjoying Greek yogurt concoctions, and they think it's because of me, but it's because of you, so, glad you got that out there. But yeah, so that was his thing, and again, like, comment on fucking every video, no matter how small a channel, how big a channel. He was there. So when his posts just kind of stopped happening at first, you know, it's whatever. People take breaks and stuff. But then, you know, months went on, turned into a year, 2 years, 3 years, and it's like, holy fuck. The Carlos Kalina thing happened. Time kept going on, and it's like, goddamn. And you go back and watch his last video, and he was talking about a big change in his life, if I remember right. And I know he had mentioned moving back towards Tennessee. I can't remember. I should have went back and watched that last video before making this video, but whatever. We're just going to shoot from the hip. But him saying something about job changes or something like that, or personal life, or more schooling. He had vaguely, you know, mentioned he worked for the government. Wouldn't say in what capacity, which I imagine for security reasons, which is why he was using not his real name, of course. Again, these are things he's all said on his channel. Bushcraft Ridge. Go subscribe to it. I will link it. Hopefully you guys have made it far enough to see that. I might put an edit in here and put that at the beginning so people know to go look at his channel. But anyways, so yeah, that was that. I made more than a few comments on his last video on the Brian Nielson account. I'd go back and check every now and then, see if there's an update. And like a month ago, he liked and responded to a comment, and I was like, oh shit. I even messaged, I DM'd Danny Foster, aka Dan Home Physique, another big YouTuber for fitness back then, around 10K subs. He and I still talk almost every day. And I messaged Danny, and I was like, look, dude, holy fuck, as we've had a bunch of conversations about the artist formerly known as Brian Nielsen too. So that was a good time strolling down memory lane with Danny about that. So anyway, if you're still watching at this point, Brad, God, that feels so wrong. In my live streams, you know, I live stream quite a bit these days. There's been a lot of conversations about what happened to Brian Nielsen, and some of the more popular theories. I think the most popular theory was that you got butchered by Carlos Kalina. I'm sure you remember Carlos. If while you were absent, he ended up butchering his neighbor. Like, he chloroformed him, chopped his body parts up, put him in a duffel bag, and threw him away across the street. So now you're up to speed on that. So the number one theory in my live streams was that you got butchered by Carlos Kalina. I think what I thought, you know, I thought that, you know, life just got in the way, and that's more important than YouTube, and that, you know, that's what happened. Maybe there's some truth to that. I think another theory that had been discussed was you really were adamant about commenting on everybody's big, small, whatever, like every single fucking video, even if it was just the good talk video or good talk comment, that again became an endearing sort of memory of your former account. That, you know, you just got tired of it and maybe felt obligated to do that on everybody's video. And, you know, I could see that being a reason to stop uploading too. I've even got to the point, you know, I used to be the same way. I think we all used to kind of comment on everybody's videos. As time goes on, it really does become tedious, and I've kind of given that up. I don't even, you know, respond to a lot of comments oftentimes on my videos anymore, just because it is such a, you know, it takes up so much time, and I don't want to feel responsible. Like, I want to put out videos because I enjoy putting out videos. I do enjoy seeing the comments. I read every one of them, and I do enjoy the discourse. That's from your last video, Brad, that I didn't comment on, but I did indeed fucking watch it, and you were talking about YouTube being a place of discourse with your peanut buttermilk stout beer. But I do, and I enjoy a lot of the interaction, which is why I live stream a lot of times now, because I feel that's more personal than responding via comments. So, you know, there's give and take there. I stopped commenting on every single video of people I sub for back in the day. I don't sub for sub anymore. If somebody puts on my channel, hey, let's sub for sub, you know, I generally tell them to fuck off. And it's not from a place of anger or being mean. It's tedious, and it does make you feel a weird sort of responsibility that you shouldn't, and makes it not as fun. But anyway, yeah, so I kind of theorized that was why Brad, artist formerly known as Brian Nielson, the YouTuber formerly known as Brian Nielson, stopped doing it, because that is tedious. But based on your last video, I think Brad still kind of does that, which, you know, more power to you if that's something that you enjoy doing, which you did back in the day. So, again, that was just a theory of mine. But yeah, so he's alive. He's well. Fingers crossed. I know I got the meet coming up soon, but hopefully he and I are going to get together. We're kind of still far apart, but there's a kind of central meeting point that I'm not going to tell you guys, but I think me and Brad are going to get together and go hang out with our kiddos one day. And that's probably something Brad, after the meet, will kind of figure out the logistics of. But, so yeah, that's kind of, if you want to call this the legend of Brian Nielson, the story of Brian Nielson as told by me. His channel still exists. You can go look at it, see some of the videos. But he, again, I think middle management kind of suits him perfectly, what his role was back in the early days of the, you know, YouTube fitness community, when there was more of a sense of community, and much less of the, you know, seeking social media fame, which I'm not against. It was just different back then than it is now. So, again, go subscribe to Brad Nelson, his channel Bushcraft Ridge. I will link it in the description. Yeah, go do that. Glad to see you back, Brad. You know, can't wait to go meet up where we intend on meeting up. Peace!